Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of Couples in the Ring. Do you remember when I used to say glass up for like ever? I was like, welcome back to Glass Up.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, no, this is a continuation episode of the last one. So if you haven't listened to the last one, I would probably go listen to that one first before you continue to listen to this one, because it is sort of a continuation of what we were talking about in the last one. But yeah.
Right.
So we'll, again, similar to the last, I'll kind of let you take the reins again.
It's basically me just talking.
People are going to love this. They're like, oh my God, we never got Josh to shut up. This is perfect. This is perfect. We'll have more episodes like this. But no, I'm going to
stop touching it? Why do you keep touching it?
The mic?
Yeah.
I did that on the other one too.
Yeah, you have problems.
I do.
It's okay. We all have them. Yours are just a lot more evident.
Anyway.
Well, that's such a husband-wife thing to do.
That is such a, to call me out on shit all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
It's my job.
Is it though?
Yeah, I'm not going to let you look stupid on national television.
Yeah, but like, what if nobody else noticed?
They will.
Except for you.
Oh, you don't think that the comments will notice? They'll notice things that I don't even notice.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like, I never noticed how jacked up your nose is. I said, me neither.
No one's ever said that.
No, I'm just an example.
I was like, you don't have the cutest little nose.
No. But yeah, I'll let you kind of.
Someone's knocking at the door.
At this door?
Yeah.
I can't even hear it. Oh, it's Kappa. It's our cat Kappa.
Should I go let him in?
Yeah, I'll let him in. Yeah. So basically, like I said, she'll take the reins, and we'll talk a little bit about it. This will probably be. I just burped into the mic. I'm so sorry. I'm drinking an energy drink right now, and it's like super. Wow. Sorry about that, guys. But anyway,
I would do.
Sorry about that. But yeah, she's gonna go into it, and this will probably be, honestly, we'll probably be talking about this for a little while, understandably.
I'll probably do one by myself talking.
Yeah, right. Maybe.
It's like my therapy.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Because I'm not gonna go to therapy.
Right.
Because that's lame. I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
No, she's joking. Don't
it's just
say
my
it.
dark sense of humor, guys. I'm just kidding. It's lame for me. It's not lame for everyone else.
Right.
Please go get therapy if you need it.
Right.
It's very
Definitely.
I'm canceled.
But yeah, no, we're gonna get into it, and yeah. So without further ado, you can.
Without further ado,
I don't know where you want to start.
Okay, so basically in the last episode, we talked about how our baby Luca was diagnosed with spina bifida and a heart problem. Inevitably.
That's the word.
Inevitably.
No. I'm gonna I'm gonna let you figure this one out. To be honest.
No, say it.
Inevitably.
How are you saying?
Inevitably.
Inevitably.
There you
Got
go.
it.
There you go.
Yeah, the heart problem was the main source, and the main problem of Luca, and we talked about how we know it's not genetic, and so let's start about the reason why we assume, and the doctors also assume, that it's not genetic is because they feel that the heart condition and spina bifida I guess the heart condition was a result of spina bifida. So if you look up the type that our son had.
Sorry about Kappa's butt.
Sorry about my other son showing his butt. He's sitting on me. Can you talk for a minute?
Sorry guys. Oh, what just happened here? Sorry guys. I don't know what Cap was on.
Okay,
today.
Anyways. So yeah, the type of spina bifida that our son had was the worst kind, and they are closely related with heart conditions. Lipomyelomalignous, whatever.
We said in the last episode,
Yeah.
Go check that one out.
So, we were concerned immediately that, oh my gosh, it's genetic. After doing research, we found out that spina bifida is kind of just, I hate to say this, but it's just bad luck. And it is highly related to folic acid and a lack of folic acid.
That's what they think, right? Like that's
their studies.
That's the study, like that's the main cause they think, right?
Not cause, but it prevents.
Having folate or folic acid
Yes,
prevents neural tube defects in general.
Yes, like they saw a significant decrease in children with neural tube defects when the mother had a significant amount of folic acid.
Okay.
Which is why, if you don't know, why immediately doctors say go on a prenatal. Because it's very hard. Well, it's not very hard, but you have to eat pretty well to get a lot of folate, 400 milligrams or micrograms, of folic acid is hard to ingest from diet unless you're eating a lot of leafy greens, which we know in the American standard diet we do not. But anyways, so we immediately asked, is this something we should be concerned about in our next pregnancy? Is this something that is genetic? And every single doctor reassured us that it is not genetic. And there is no way of testing this previously. So a lot of people have already asked me, can you get your remaining embryos tested to rule out spina bifida with your next pregnancies? And the answer to that is no, because it's not genetic. You cannot test for it. It's not a chromosome problem. The only thing that it's not in your DNA, I guess, if that makes sense. It's literally a fluke in Mother Nature, which happens with everything, even plants. Like plants could grow wrong or whatever. So when you're testing an embryo, you're testing the DNA, and you get to see the DNA, the genes, and the chromosomes. Well, spina bifida is literally just a defect that happens naturally in Mother Nature, and it's just like something divided wrong. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
And you cannot test for that. Like, for example, if when Luca was born and they genetically tested him, he would have came back as completely normal. Because genetically he is normal. Mm-hmm. And I was still convinced. I was like, nope, there's something wrong. Like, there's no way I just have this much bad luck all the time. Like, there's no way I'm the 1 in 2,000. There's no way I'm the 1 in 5 that have infertility, the 1 in 10 that have endo. There's just no way that I just keep having this bad luck. There's just no way. And I remember when I was doing research about infertility, which if I wouldn't have done my own research about infertility, by the way, I would be way behind in this journey. I probably would not even have gotten pregnant yet. I probably wouldn't even known I had endo yet. But because I am a research freak and you have to be your own advocate, which I'm going to tell you guys this story and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, I really should be my own advocate. When I found out that there was a correlation between neural tube defects and folic acid, at first I was like, well, this must be really just a fluke because I've been on prenatals for 4 years. So there's no way that this is a lack of folic acid. Well, I remember when I was searching into infertility, I came across a lot of women that had a gene called the MTHFR gene. And basically, it's a gene mutation, which basically means that your mom and your dad both carry a specific gene that when they get put together, you get the full-blown one. Basically, what it means is that it's the enzyme that breaks down folic acid. And if you are positive for the MTHFR gene, there's 2 of them. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just Cap was getting into things he shouldn't be right now. I'm sorry I have to deal with him.
If you are positive for the gene, then you have a hard time. You actually can't break down folic acid. And so it builds up in your system and you're not actually actively using that folic acid. So you need methylfolate, which methylfolate or folate is the I don't even know how to explain it. It's like the most pure form of folate, and it's in what's in vegetables. It's the most usable in your body.
So from what I understand, methylfolate is the natural folic acid?
Well,
no.
Folic acid is the synthetic form. Like
right, of folate.
It's a synthetic molecule that they've made in a lab.
And like that's what you take in like a prenatal.
Right. Or that's what's in like fortified stuff, orange juice, bread.
So methylfolate is the natural occurring.
Yes, it's the one that's like more bioavailable in your bloodstream.
Oh, okay. Understood.
He is hanging on your chair.
Yeah, I know. I gotta let him out.
Sorry, guys. So when I found out about this gene, I never thought I had it, because I had no reason to. So, Josh is...
I have to walk across. I'm sorry.
So when I saw and found out that my baby had spina bifida, I decided, you know what? What is the harm in seeing if I have this gene? Because I was convinced, I told Josh actually right when I found out that Luca had spina bifida, I told Josh, I'm like, there's either, like, I'm convinced there's another problem here and this isn't just bad luck over and over and over again. And he's like, yo, you're probably right. Because every single time I think that there's something wrong with me and I do my own research, I end up being correct. Literally every time. So I kept telling Josh over and over again, I think, like, you know, there's something else wrong with me. And I remembered this MTHFR gene. And so I started Googling, how can I get tested for the MTHFR gene on 23andMe? Because I know that I've done 23andMe before. And if you didn't know this and you've done 23andMe, you can actually get your raw data from 23andMe. So it will actually break down all of your genes, every chromosome, the positions. You can literally see every single one of your chromosomes on 23andMe. So I decided to download it. And I followed like this tutorial on how to find out if you have the MTHFR gene on 23andMe. So I downloaded the raw data, put in all the info. Basically, long story short, I found out that I was a carrier of the MTHFR gene mutation. Which, once again, it means I have an up to 80% decrease in breaking down folic acid. So the enzymes that break down folic acid to make it methylfolate, to make it readily available in my bloodstream, I am decreased by up to 80%. It is the most severe form, of course, of MTHFR. So, that was hard to deal with emotionally because now looking back, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't look into this. I don't know why I didn't look for it sooner. If I would have just took methylfolate, like and it's so crazy because in my head, while I was doing IVF, I was like, I should just take methylfolate just in case. But I was like, no, there's no way. And now I have regrets every single day.
Yeah, and this is something that we've talked about too, and obviously it's so easy to see these things and like think like, okay, well, if I did this and I didn't do this or I did this, like it's so easy to beat yourself up over it, obviously, right? And you know, it's something where like it's not your fault, and I've told you that 1,000 times. Like, you can't blame yourself.
No, I know that it's just human nature, I think, and as a mother, you just
right, like even with his heart defect,
right.
No matter if you had folic acid and you were and his heart,
was it from?
I don't know. That's
spina bifida?
I know. It's hard to see if they were related or not, but the way we have to go forward with it and look at it is like we can't say, oh, if you did this wouldn't have happened, because we don't know.
Right.
Right? Like, no one knows, really.
Right.
So, I don't know.
So because we had a previous child with spina bifida and neural tube defects, immediately the doctors were like, okay, your next pregnancy, you have to take 5,000 micrograms of folic acid. And so that started making me do my research, because I knew, like I said, I've been taking folic acid for years. So I'm like, no, like it doesn't seem like it's going to fix my problem. I've already been taking enough. I mean, I eat more leafy greens, I would say, than most regular people. Like, I just couldn't see it being bad luck. So when I found out that I had the gene, which, like I said, thank God I did my own research and I decided to look at it myself, because no doctor was really willing to test me or Luca or Josh for anything. We met with a geneticist and everything, but all of them said, this is just bad luck.
Yes.
And the chance of this happening in your next pregnancy is almost nothing. Like, don't even worry about it. There's nothing we can test you for. We tried.
Yeah, we did. It was, so after we had met with all of the specialists and everything, and then after she had like we had a, I don't know how to kind of explain it. We wanted to get him genetically tested after,
Right.
and
they
they
just
said
take a piece of his skin. Right?
yeah, right. And then so after they didn't find the heartbeat and everything like that, we wanted to obviously see what our options were to get him genetically tested, and they said we didn't qualify. I don't know why.
Well, you do know why. We told you.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Scientifically.
Yeah, it does make sense.
They also said even if we genetically tested you, we don't know what to genetically test you for.
Right.
Because chromosomally he was normal. He didn't carry like spina bifida, like I said, is just a fluke in Mother Nature. You can't even if Luca was alive and living and they did his heart and, well, I guess his heart had a problem, but if they did like a blood test or anything, he would come up as completely quote
like genetically normal.
Genetically normal.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. So that's
they
right.
can't test you for something that is just literally like if I was born with an extra finger,
yeah,
and that was just a fluke, I was quote unquote genetically healthy otherwise.
Yes.
You can't test my blood and see I have an extra finger. That's like
right.
the most common. That's the most like way I could describe it.
No, it makes sense because
right.
I did forget. Sorry. So yes,
Yes.
when we talked to them, they did say
we were
that
just
is
frustrated.
Why.
That was the problem.
Yeah, it was frustrating because we're like, we start getting into the conversation of like, well, we pay for this in our taxes. Like, why can't we just do it? And blah 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 blah. But with that being said, it's not as easy as like, okay, I want it, so let's do it. Like, you need to have criteria. Otherwise, we're just gonna be wasting their time and ours. Frankly,
I don't remember if I brought up the gene. I think I did to the doctors. You
did say that, can we genetically test to make sure that I don't have this gene? And they said, yeah, you can go on your own,
right,
and genetically test for it,
right.
But then you obviously found out about the raw data on 23andMe, which was insane because I didn't even know that was a thing.
Me neither.
First of all, where did you learn that?
Google.
Oh, you just saw.
I just said like, 23andMe, like, how's my genetics? Let me see if I can see if there's a way to get it.
Oh yeah.
And I typed in MTHFR gene and 23andMe, and then it gave me a breakdown on how I didn't even know I could get my raw data from there.
And you had to learn how to read it, right?
Yes. And I had to learn about so like you have like a C, a T, and an A that you can carry. And so basically mine was, was mine AA?
AA.
Yeah, so mine was AA. So basically my mom gave me an A, my dad gave me an A, which made me be the prime candidate for not absorbing methylfolate. We found out my mom, I texted her after I found out that my mom also, has to have it because I have it. And then my dad must have it also. He just doesn't know, and I probably won't tell him because it's not important to him.
So the way it works is essentially if they both carry 40%.
Right. So if my mom had like an AT, my dad had an AC, but I got the A and the A from both of them.
Then you have 80.
Then I have AA, which, mind you, this is my little thing. Talk to your doctor first, but 40% of women actually have this gene. It causes migraines, ADHD. It can cause autism. Not cause autism, but a lot of the people that have
it's related.
This gene, it seems to be related with migraines, rheumatoid arthritis, a lot of things. I don't want that to scare you because, like I said, 40% of women have it and have healthy babies, healthy pregnancies, healthy everything.
But it does affect infertility as well, correct?
It does impact infertility and miscarriages by a lot.
Right.
So, if you can, talk to your doctor first and you are taking a prenatal, even if you know if you have the gene or not, you don't even have to go that far. Just switch from folic acid to methylfolate. It's harmless. It's the same thing. Talk to your doctor first. But it does no harm. And now looking back, I wish I would have done that because I knew better, but just didn't do it.
That was literally my main question to you. Remember I said, I was like, well, why don't doctors just put everybody on methylfolate just in case?
It's more expensive.
Right. But I feel like, again, like now knowing this information, right? And obviously, like, you can't blame the doctors for this kind of thing because it's not their fault. But I think anybody that's I don't know the drawbacks, right? Like I asked you, I said, okay, so there has to be a drawback just for them to take methylfolate, and it's just an expense.
That's it.
So to me, it just makes more sense to let people know, hey, these issues could happen if you carry this gene. We don't know. So instead, if you don't want to be genetically tested, or you live in the States or something and you need to pay for that kind of thing, why not just precautionary tell them and let them make that decision? I don't know if people do that, but to me, it would make more sense to just lay it on the table, let them know, hey, this is a possibility. You could take this to prevent it just in general, or we can just put you on folic acid or whatever.
I think the problem is, one, it's hard to find. I can't find methylfolate in the drugstore.
Okay.
We looked, can't find it.
That's right, yeah.
Number 2 is, I think you have to remember that a lot of people's OBGYNs are just OBGYNs.
Right.
They're not fertility specialists. They're not geneticists. So if they might be doctors and have no idea of the gene.
That could be, yeah.
They just might not. You have to remember majority, right? Majority of people can probably take folic acid and be fine.
Absorb it. Yeah, right.
The problem is if you have this gene, like I said, 40% of women do. So it's important to know, mostly for yourself, the chances of having a baby with spina bifida is pretty low.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But it also causes like cleft lip and stuff. It causes a lot of not an issue, but genetically not normal things.
I mean, it's not.
I don't want to be like mean.
No, it is an issue.
Yes.
It is. It's a problem.
I'm trying to be not cancelable.
It's a birth defect.
Yes.
It's not.
It causes a lot of birth defects.
Right, and you're allowed to say it's an issue.
I know. I don't know.
Like if somebody looks at that and be like, "Well,
right,"
you can't say. Well, it is. It's what it is, right? It's.
And the good thing is that if you have it and your children might have it also, and it can cause like a lot of things, like I said. So one of the problems with it is that I can't absorb folic acid, which means, so even if you don't have infertility and stuff, I highly recommend, if you've already done 23andMe, I'll link the article below on how you just can follow the instructions and it will tell you how to do it. Maybe just look for yourself, because it's good to know for your kids also. And there's so many other problems other than infertility, miscarriage, and birth defects that come along with it. And the main one is that you can't absorb folic acid. And if you didn't know this, but everything that's fortified, which a lot of people don't even know what fortified means. Fortified means there's added vitamins into the thing. So they're very common in cereals, rice, grains, juices like orange juice. I don't know how long ago it was, but the government basically started spraying all grains with folic acid to prevent most people from having babies with neural tube defects.
Right.
So your body cannot absorb it with this gene, and it builds up. And methylfolate actually detoxifies you. It's a methylation process, so it detoxifies you. And if you cannot detoxify it, which we cannot, if you can't absorb it, you basically build up too much of it in your body, and your body can't get rid of it. And it can be an overload to your liver. It could be an overload just in your bloodstream. And so you end up with all this folic acid that has nowhere to go and no methylfolate. And methylfolate and B12 work together. So you can also be low on B12, which I was years ago. It was so bad I needed injections. And now it makes sense because they work together.
So sorry to cut you off, but what I don't understand is why the government would start spraying folic acid on all of these things when that gene does exist, and you're saying 40% of people have it.
Mm-hmm.
So why would they even do that? Well, I mean,
and that's the thing, is it's making me realize my mind is opening, being like, oh my gosh, they don't really give a shit. It's because majority of people can absorb it. My mom now found out that she can't. She has a 40% reduction, so she only carries one of the two. And I carry both, so I have an 80%. She has about a 40%. And so she had gastric bypass surgery, which means she already has a hard time absorbing nutrients, so she has to be on vitamins anyways. And her doctor actually prescribed her 5,000 micrograms of folic acid. And she's been taking it and taking it and taking it and taking it. And obviously it's better for her because she is still absorbing most of it.
Right.
But a simple switch to methylfolate would have solved most of her problems.
So you're saying that basically how it works is when they're saying like, oh, you have 40% or 80%, it's 40%
reduction. In absorption.
Okay, so meaning you cannot absorb 40% of it. Okay.
And it's not exact. It's like rough.
So is there anybody that can't absorb 100% of it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so 80,
I didn't see
80
it. I have the
max.
most severe, and it said 80%.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is like it's a very controversial thing amongst doctors. It also raises your chance of blood clots. So if you've ever had a blood clot, that's a good time to test yourself. It causes a lot of other things that is just good to know. Mm-hmm. And to know I've been taking folic acid and eating things with folic acid my whole entire life. Yeah. And it's been floating around in my body. And then I wonder why I get severe migraines.
Yeah, and that's something that it's just crazy because it opens up like, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they know what causes migraines, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Some people have triggers and stuff, but there's no like...
right, there's no like definite answer.
Well, they know,
why.
Yeah, like they know like, oh, it's too much blood flow, but they don't know why. Everyone has a different trigger.
Right, so to me it's funny because... So as Karlee obviously started researching this gene and finding out, oh, it affects this, like a whole list of things. It like makes you wonder, like all of these things that happen, right? Like obviously some things they don't have an answer for or whatever, but it's like, it's crazy how frankly, like considering you only researched it for, let's say 2, 3, 4 weeks, let's pretend, right? It's crazy how much you learned already and like things that can be like, okay, so what if you start taking methylfolate and then your migraines go away?
Right.
It's like crazy that you could go to the doctor for years. And again, I can't blame doctors for like dismissing things because you see this much of like, you're the only patient that you're going to know how they deal with it, right? Like they probably see so many people that go in there crying wolf or like whatever, and they dismiss things because that's what they're used to doing.
Right.
And it sucks because it's like, well, you should treat everybody differently and like have them
patient by patient.
Patient by patient.
I love Dr. Victory.
Right. So to me, it's like, I feel like a lot of things would stop being like swept under the rug. Again, like Karlee always says, be an advocate for yourself, because even I was for celiac. Like, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't even have looked into it and would have just kept suffering and suffering and suffering. But again, with 23andMe, told me I was
not sponsored. We totally paid for it.
Yeah, we paid for it and said I was susceptible or at higher risk for celiac, and sure shit, that's what it was. So, like, definitely be your own advocate, because this little research that you've already done, like, look at how much you've learned.
So, it also is correlated with anxiety and depression hugely, like a lot.
See, like, who would know that?
And I would say 40% of people probably have anxiety or depression.
Oh, for sure.
And like,
I think it's higher than that now, probably.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And the therapeutic dose for somebody that has that is 5,000 micrograms of methylfolate. Like I said, I am not a doctor. Talk to your doctor about all of this. Like, do not take methylfolate without talking to your doctor. Please, just don't. I don't want to be like liable for that.
Yeah, exactly. We're not doctors.
No,
we're not therapists.
No, we're nothing. We're just.
I feel like we shouldn't have to say that, but you do. Legally. To like, you know.
Right.
But anyway.
But I see a lot of women now giving it to their children because they know they carry the genes. So that means like our child will probably have one copy of the gene instead of two, so they'll probably have a 40% reduction.
Because I don't have it.
Because you don't have it. I for sure have it, so they're getting one of mine. So they're getting the gene.
Right.
Because one comes from your mom, one comes from your dad.
So that means...
So our kid would need to be on methylfolate.
So this means that everybody in your mother's family, at least one of them carries this gene throughout, like, her whole family.
Right, but it could have been started from my mom's dad.
Right, that's true.
It could have started from there, so everyone above them doesn't have it. But
isn't that crazy? Like, things can just, like,
it's crazy
like that. Like,
I mean, it's important not to look into all your genes, because we all carry genes that cause something, all of us.
Right.
So it's important not to overlook into it too much. But when it's something so simple as just like switching from one type of vitamin to another and avoiding the foods with it, it's not like a crazy thing. And you are not defined by your genes. You can totally prevent things in your genes.
What was that saying? You know the saying.
The gene is gun in your lifestyle's the trigger.
Something like that, right? Like,
something like that.
Yeah, that's actually really that's a good saying.
If your parents have diabetes, you know, it's
yes, you could be a higher risk, but
you're higher risk, but you can prevent it by healthy habits.
It's up to you. Like, you don't have to follow that same path.
Obviously, there's genes that are unavoidable. Like, I couldn't avoid the MTHFR gene.
Right.
We know this. But it's also higher risk for breast cancer, like a heart disease, like a lot of things that if you can just make a simple switch and avoid fortified foods, it's pretty simple.
It's just crazy. I love talking about this shit because I'm like, what if someone's listening right now and they're like, you know, I suffer from migraines and I have infertility and I have this and that. Like, let me just see. And then they go and they find out, I do. And then they can change their.
I know.
Like, it's crazy.
If you've done 23andMe, there is a way to find your raw data. And if you're looking for a specific gene, Google how to find that gene, or Google, you know, literally Google is incredible. It saved me. It diagnosed me with endometriosis. It diagnosed me with infertility. It diagnosed me with everything before a doctor ever did.
No, like, Google is like.
And honestly, my doctor prescribed me. He's like, you're gonna go on 5,000 micrograms of folic acid. And I was like, before I do this, I'm gonna look into my gene. Found out I had it, and we're making the switch. So I would have got pregnant again and had the same risk of neural tube defects as I already did before, because I wouldn't have switched to methylfolate.
Right.
And I would have been slowly poisoning myself, basically.
Right.
With folic acid building up.
Because you're not just getting, you wouldn't have just got what's fortified in food. You would have been going above and beyond that.
And even in a prenatal, there's only 400. I was supposed to be on 5,000.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
So, it's important to know, and it's just something that's so simple to find out and so simple to make the change. And it's good for your children also, because what do children eat? A lot of cereal, bread, like granola bars, orange juice. So it's just important to know and very simple to switch and change, and it might help you with something. And even if it's not helping outside, it's probably helping inside. So why not do it?
Maybe it'll be a change that you won't even notice physically.
Right. And if you do suffer from recurrent miscarriages or anything like that, knowing you have this gene might change a lot. And
crazy.
The only bad thing about it is now in my next pregnancy, I will have to be on blood thinners, because I'm at a high risk for miscarriage and blood clots.
Because of this gene, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, a lot of people that have miscarriages have a blood clotting disorder and don't know about it. So that's another thing to maybe ask for at the doctor. But anyways, it's kind of like I'm sad because I'm like, I should have known about this sooner, and I did know about it, and I just didn't think it was me, and I should have just done more research. But I can't go back and think about it. And who knows, like, you cannot have this gene and still have a baby with neural tube defects. It's just literally bad luck. And and like I said, 40% of these people have this gene, and 40% of people don't have a baby with a birth defect. So it's not like you're 100% gonna get it. And also we found out after knowing that there's a higher risk of birth defects with IVF babies, and a huge increase on spina bifida. That was from Google. I didn't look into it, so it might be wrong, because there are studies on Google that are not wrong. Like, you can look up something and one study will say one thing and the other will say the other.
I was just gonna say that.
So that part, I would say we don't really know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you were talking about like how Google is like the best resource to figure things out like this, and obviously, it is. Like, this is how you can start advocating for yourself, is doing the research, getting the answers. But again, you need to know where to look. Like, you can't just source.
Right.
Like, don't source an article that, is not reputable or whatever. Like, even doctors will recommend, like, I don't know what, Mayo Clinic and stuff like that is pretty reputable and stuff. But you can find independent studies. You just need to know how to actually source them properly.
You also need to know how to read it. Was it done on rats? Was it done on humans? Was it a controlled study? Was it, you have to know how to read it.
Right.
We did find some things from a quick Google search about neural tube defects and IVF, but I don't know if it's reputable or not. We didn't like keep looking into it. I kind of like switched over to like how can I prevent it next time instead of worrying about what we already did.
Yeah, like and the other thing is too is like with Luca, like obviously that was a problem that, you know, that we figured out after, but like the heart defect, this is the problem, is it's hard to know. What the doctors told us is that the heart defect was not a genetic thing either, obviously, right? It was another kind of like luck of the draw. So when Karlee and I were talking, we're like, oh my God, do you think this is related? Like, is it related? Who knows? And it very well might not have been related too. So it's like,
I think it is, but
so do I. And because even the articles that we were reading about like spina bifida and stuff like that, they said a lot of congenital heart defects or heart failure or whatever.
Go with.
Yeah, they're like hand in hand.
Right.
So, I mean, it sucks because it's like, would you have, if you were taking methylfolate, would it have even, you know,
made a difference?
It's hard. And that's why when we talked about, you're like, oh, I wish I knew I could have prevented it. But it's like, maybe you couldn't have prevented the thing that actually took him from us, right? It wasn't, that might not have been anything that you had control of, which it wasn't anyway. So anyway, yeah.
So now I'm at this crossroad where we did our egg retrieval in the beginning of August, like right before our wedding.
Yeah.
And they don't really, so they say that spina bifida occurs between like 22 and 28 days after conception. And the problem with that is, the reason why they say that is because that's when the spine is forming. So obviously it's going to take effect then. My problem is that nobody really knows if it's actually genetically in the embryo, or if it's something that happens while the child's growing that wasn't predetermined in the embryo. Now, if you're not into IVF and knowing how a baby, comes to light, you're probably like, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's something that I've been struggling with, because I know that we retrieved all of our embryos when I was not taking methylfolate. And now I have this consistent worry of,
is it predetermined in the
embryo? And are multiple of our embryos going to have this because I wasn't taking methylfolate?
Right, yeah.
And the only way to know that is to see. And that scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, and like realistically, like, this is the thing, is like, they missed the heart, like the heart defect was probably already there, obviously.
Yep,
that was missed in every single ultrasound up until the 20 week.
Right.
So it's like, the problem is like, it's such a scary feeling to think, are we going to go through all of this again and potentially run into the same issue, and then our baby's not there anymore, like his heartbeat's gone. Like, are we going to run into this? It is a valid concern, because the shitty part about science and stuff like that is, like, sometimes they don't have all the answers.
Right.
Scientifically, things make sense. But, like, right now, you don't even know, is it formed in the embryo? Like, is it predetermined in the embryo? Like, do all of our embryos have this problem now? Or does it happen after? Like, we don't know.
The other problem is there's so many other things that can be wrong that is not even determined by genes, or that are determined by genes, or that are chromosome problems, and that will not be compatible with life. And it's all of these things on top of now this new one. Like,
you had the regular worries,
right,
and now you have everything else,
right,
on top of it. Like, pregnancy is a very listen. I hope, and I'm not a woman, but from my experience on the other side, because even if there's no men listening to this or whatever, just to let women know that as a man, I do understand, like, pregnancy and like birth is truly a miracle. It really is. Like, you got to think, you're going through 40 weeks most of the time, 40 weeks of like ups and downs. Like, you don't know how the baby's actually doing, and then you got to wait 12, you get your 12-week ultrasound, and then you got to wait all the way up until 20 weeks to see them again. and then you don't know what happens within that time frame, and you can go for your ultrasound, and then 2 days later your baby could be gone, and you don't even know until the next one. Truly, to have like a baby, a healthy baby full term, is truly a miracle. So
people take advantage of it, and they don't even realize how much of a miracle it is.
Absolutely. And it's like it is a crazy thing. Like, you are constantly worrying, like, step by step, right? And, you know, obviously there's people out there that will never relate to this.
Right.
They'll never relate. And I hope you don't. I really, truly hope, like, none of you have to go through, like, child loss or anything, right? Like, obviously I wouldn't wish that on.
I just think people are naive to it. They just don't realize that, like, I think everyone gets pregnant thinking everything's okay, but they don't realize that it might not be.
Right. And it's scary. And this isn't to scare.
It's not to scare you.
Yeah.
It's to mostly make you be so thankful.
Yeah, it's truly, it really truly is a miracle. And I'm like, I can't say that enough. Like, and again, I'm not a woman. I'll never be pregnant. I'll never have, that experience. But from the other side, like, I just can't believe, like, it is a very, pregnancy and everything is like a beautiful thing. And I never understood that, right? Never. It was like something that never even crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, whatever. You got a kid, cool, whatever. See ya. Like, who cares? Fast forward to now, like, losing a child, like, knowing that they should have been here in September, it's like, it sucks. It sucks really bad. So
You're gonna make me cry.
It sucks. So with that being said, I really wish more people would, like, appreciate, their children and being able to bring a healthy baby into the world. And, like, I'm not saying people don't.
No,
there's so many. I've seen it firsthand. Like, so many people, they just, they get
treat their children like
shit.
Like,
it's fucked, man. And it's like, I can't speak from experience because obviously, like, unfortunately, we don't have our baby here with us, and I can't talk about it from, like, a parental view of, like, having your kid here at home and, like, how they behave and blah 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 blah. But, like, when you see parents who just genuinely, like, don't take care of their children,
neglect their kid,
like, neglect them and, like, don't love them like they should, and, like, whatever, it's like, just
it makes me want to actually just go insane.
I know, because, like, they don't, and I'm not assuming that nobody understands this, but, like, for the people that do, I'm sure
even people that didn't have problems, though, like getting pregnant or anything, they look at parents that are ungrateful for their kids and that treat them like shit.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah,
but it's like, I feel like for people who have lost and, like, didn't get that experience, worse. You're like, dude,
it's
like, come on.
Yeah.
So I mean, my whole thing is, like, I wish people would be more grateful for that opportunity to become a parent. Like, and again, like, this is coming from me who thought kids were never going to be in my life. It's a very eye-opening experience for all this to happen. And, like, when you get to, like, see your child, you're like,
yeah, he definitely was overwhelmed with emotions. Oh my God. That
I never felt like that in my life. I said this in the last podcast, but, like, just to reiterate, like, genuinely, I don't think I have had an emotion like that in my whole life. So weird. Such a weird feeling. Like, anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm taking methylfolate and we're going to do everything in the next pregnancy to prevent. There's no guarantee. Yeah. But I will say that I was already more nervous than other people, and now I'm like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Like, I didn't think I could get more nervous.
Yeah.
I was already so nervous about losing my miracle, and then I did, that now I'm like, I feel like at this point I'm going to go, like, actually get crazy.
I know. It just seems like it's, honestly, the last, especially year, like, last year of life has just been throwing, like, fucking everything.
Yeah. It's like,
especially at you. Like,
one
it's fucking,
thing after
oh my
another.
God, like, just crazy. It's like
bad.
Really bad.
Like, I finally start to be good, and then it's like,
boom.
nope.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm good again. Nope.
No, I know.
I'm good again. Nope.
I know. And it's literally like, I don't know. For anybody out there that feels like their life is just one thing after another, after another, after another.
We feel you.
Yeah, we're with you there. And it might not seem like it because you guys see, and I really don't like having to like reiterate this so much because people think they know everything about what's going on in our lives.
The two things I experienced this year was losing my best friend to a murder.
Yeah.
And losing my child. Most people will never experience those two things.
Ever.
In their entire life.
Right, ever.
So if we have to explain why we feel like it's one thing after another, then fuck you.
Yeah. No, but like, I don't know. I just, I feel like a lot of people will look at our life and think like, oh man, you guys have it so good and blah, 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 blah.
I would give up everything to have my best friend and my baby.
Yeah.
Everything. I'd give up my job, my car, my house, my money.
Everything.
There's a reason why people with, I mean, I'm not rich, but people that are rich or people that are famous still have mental health issues and still, unalive themselves all the time.
Yeah, like I don't know.
It's not everything.
It's a very select few people. Like, trust me, and I do want to address this because I don't think we really talked about it, but like, I do want to thank the vast majority of you who like reached out and had like beautiful things to say to us. Right. And like, there were some comments that were like choking us up. We're like, dude, like, thank you so much. And we see that, right? Like, I don't want to just focus on the negatives. We do want to focus on the positive too. Like, you guys truly, truly left some really nice comments and we really do appreciate it. And we see you. So thank you. But to the select few that think that everything's good, I don't know. Go fuck yourself. I don't know.
No, seriously.
I don't know.
Like, seriously, go fuck yourself.
I don't know. I was trying to take the mature route there, and it just
go fuck yourself. Like,
it slipped away from me.
I will say this experience has made me a little bit bitter. Maybe,
yes, ma'am.
Maybe even a lot of bit bitter.
Yes,
maybe
ma'am.
even almost unhealthy amount of bitter.
Yeah.
It also made me very impatient for people, and I am getting a lot better than I was 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, every single time somebody complained to me, I wanted to uppercut them.
Like, it's because their problem is like this big, and like, what was it?
My hair tie.
Oh, I don't know where that went.
Oh.
But that's what it felt like, right? It felt like they were complaining about something like a grain of sand, and you're like, dude, really? There's way bigger problems.
But
not everybody.
I will talk about that probably in my own podcast about the feelings that you like get from it, because it's very conflicting. You're like, you're bitter and you're jealous, but you're happy for people, but you're mad at them for no reason, and it's a lot.
I think and I talked to you about this too. I said it's okay to be that way,
but not forever.
Not forever, and especially don't show it.
Yes, 100%.
Like, she wasn't going around like fuck you.
No.
Like, that wasn't what was happening, right? It was more like internally.
Right, like internally when one of my friends complained, oh, I'm this, that, and the other. Now, and in my half of my brain understood everybody's problems are a problem to them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how small or how big. Just because you have more problem or a bigger problem in your head doesn't mean that their problems are not important. And I know that. And I'm a logical person. But when you're going through grief and you're going through something that is it feels so unfair, you really don't give a shit.
It's hard to justify like feeling
bad for someone who said, "Oh my God, like they didn't have my favorite steak at the grocery store.
Yeah,
I'm having such a bad, and I stubbed my toe." And you're like,
really?
But that, and like I said, and I'll probably talk about this in another podcast, is it's just how I felt. It didn't mean that it was right, and it didn't mean that I acted on it. Like, my friends' problems are always going to be important to me, and I'll always listen. And everyone's problem is valid, whether you think it's small or not. It's not small to them. And I know this, but it's just the way that some people deal with grief. Just like if you lose a parent and someone comes over and they're like, "I'm arguing with my mom. I fucking hate her." And you're like, I don't even have my mom. I would love to argue with my mom right now.
Yeah, right. No, 100%.
So,
yeah.
And it's a normal response
to grief.
Yeah, it's normal. It's just like you can't let it stay that way and you can't act on it. You gotta still be like aware of the fact that it's wrong to feel that way, but allow yourself to feel that way also.
The thing is too is like Karlee and I are very similar in the way I feel like we deal with grief. We seem like super similar in the way we deal with it. And it's crazy because like we never even. I always rant about like, oh, have these discussions before you get in a relationship and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, the grief discussion is not one usually on the list. But thankfully, you know, we deal with grief in the same way, which was like a surprise that I'm like, you know, a lot of people can deal with it similarly or, you know, not so different, but like we're pretty bang on with like how we've dealt with it. And it's been super comforting to like, you know, obviously you don't want to be on this journey,
right?
But like to know that like the person next to you is like feeling it the same and or more is almost like a thing of like comfort. Like
100%. Because when I was going through it with Daniel, I felt
alone.
I didn't feel alone because I know like he had a girlfriend, he had a mother, he had sisters, he had siblings, he had brothers, cousins, whatever. The problem is that when you have a different, like everyone has their own connection to a person. So like I saw Daniel as like my best friend and big brother. And I knew that even though he had other best friends and that he had sisters, that nobody had that connection. Just like I'm not going to have the same connection as him and his actual guy best friend is going to have, or him and his mother, or him and his, and we're all grieving and we're all horrible, but we all feel like no one can relate to us because our relationship to Daniel was different.
Right. Yeah.
But when, like, that's a good point that like when Luca came, me and you had like the same connection.
It was the same exact. Yeah. Like even if your connection was obviously stronger because he was in your womb, like you gave him life, like, right? And, or you gave him a home, I should say. Obviously
we're both his parents,
right? We're both at the end of the day.
Yeah,
we're both losing the same thing,
right?
So I know it sounds terrible, like you don't want to drag other people
but
in
it is
with
comforting.
You. It is. It's a different. Yeah. It's a
when I was
feeling.
going through this, I started joining groups because nobody in my life, for one, none of my friends have had infertility, and none of my friends have lost a child. So it was, for me, I felt like I was like, I have no one. Like I already felt like I had no one to talk to. And then when I got pregnant, I kind of felt like I had a group again. Like I was able to talk to, I'm just a normal pregnant woman. It doesn't matter if I did IVF, I'm just pregnant. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like I was able to talk to a bunch of people about it again and like message my friends and ask them, did you feel like this when you were pregnant? And then when I lost Luca, I felt like all alone again. Okay, not only does nobody know how IVF feels and how it feels to struggle to have a baby, but now no one knows what it feels like to lose one either. Mm-hmm. And so while everyone's sorries and everyone's what can I do for you felt so
empty.
It felt so empty.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say off of that point was like, obviously, like Karlee and I, again, when I was talking about our similar ways of dealing with it, like we were both in the same boat of like, I don't want to feel like a burden. I don't want to feel like people need to feel bad for us. And like every time they see us, they need to like, you know that thing when you're going through something and you know, like just the radiance of the room. You're like, I know people are like feeling bad for me or like trying to look at me and be like, oh, are you okay? And blah, blah, blah. And we were both like, man, I don't want that. I just want things to be normal. Mm-hmm. Like we didn't even want to go to social functions because we're like, I don't want to be like,
the pity party.
Yeah, like the pity party. And it's like, obviously you want people to be, you know, empathetic and like obviously validate your feelings and listen to you if you need to talk. But like we were both on very similar pages where we wanted to deal with it in the same way. We're like, well, I don't want to be that pity party, if you will. I
think too, we both, here's the thing is we know that nobody, and this sounds horrible, but
no, I know what you're gonna say.
People are sorry, but people don't.
No, they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. They might. Some of them might.
They care that we're hurting, and they don't want us hurting. Nobody wants to know anybody hurting. But when you can't physically relate to something, the deepest that you can feel is just simple, I'm sorry, and that you might be able to feel bad that your friend is feeling bad. You don't want your friends or family to suffer or be sad, but that's as far as you are able to go because you've never been deeper. You've never been at the same level at that they're feeling, and that goes with everything. Whether they lose a job or or someone can't pay their bills and you've never been broke, you can say I'm sorry, but you don't physically feel as sorry as they probably want you to feel.
Right.
And it's not that you want them to go down with you. It's just that, and that was the thing, is we don't want to hear these I'm sorries because they don't bring our son back. And as much as they're sweet, and we do want the I'm sorries, we don't want people to be assholes to us.
Yeah, no.
We didn't want to put ourselves in a situation where we walked into a room full of people and it was all, I'm sorry.
Then it got all dark and shit.
How are you doing? They felt like they couldn't laugh. They felt like they couldn't ask questions.
Yeah.
Like, we want it to just be like normal.
Right. And that's kind of where we were.
We didn't want to walk in and the whole atmosphere change.
Exactly.
And
that's, yes.
People felt like they couldn't be happy or smile.
Right.
Or
like no one can make a joke.
us.
Like even we had some friends over the other night, and you know, like our friends kind of know, like, you know, we're very lighthearted people, especially in our social circle, and we don't have many friends, so it's like our friends really know us.
Right.
And with that being said, like, you know, you could kind of tell that until it was brought up. That like nobody even wanted to like
nobody
touch
talked about it until we brought it up.
Yeah, they were like, I don't want to even like, which we appreciate because it's like you don't know how we're feeling.
Right.
And it was like, but it was just funny because I'm like, you could feel it, and then like once it was brought up, you could see like
everyone was like,
yeah, like the sigh of relief.
No,
like,
seriously,
I know.
Every single one of our friends were like, oh my gosh, thank God.
Like you brought it up. Let's talk about it.
Yes, they're like, let's talk about it. Do you want to talk about it? Like, we didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't even like one of Josh's friends was like, I didn't want to reach out to Karlee because I didn't know how she would feel.
Yeah, like, and that's valid.
Yes,
it's
and
like,
I totally respect that. Like,
yeah,
I feel like you never know how someone's gonna deal with it. You never know if we want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't want the how are you.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, it's nice. It's nice.
And,
I know they mean well.
And even I was doing that day to day.
But it's like what do you mean, how am I?
No,
like
it's just I know.
I'm shitty.
Right.
Like, how are you?
Right.
Probably fine. Fuck you.
And that's the thing, is it's like it's such a common response, because even me as the father of Luca and your husband, I was even how are you today, baby? And you're like, how the fuck do you think I am?
Like, come on.
I'm like, bad, but like I'm still gonna ask.
I know. It's like when you're in the store and someone says, hey, how are you? And you're like, I'm good, even though you might not.
Right.
It's just like, I know, it's just like a common,
it's like a default
yes,
response.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
But when you're not good and you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to respond to that?
Because like imagine someone comes up to you, how are you today? And you're like, I'm fucking terrible. Like, legitimately, I'm terrible. Then they're like, damn, I didn't want to get into that.
Right.
I was just asking to ask.
Right.
I don't really care.
And even though our friends, if we did respond, like, they actually probably do want to know how we're doing.
Yeah,
like,
but like
But it's like, what the problem with grieving is, it's like, no matter what someone does, says, feels, nothing, it's not fixing it. It's the only thing in the world, really, I think, that you cannot fix.
Yeah.
Or have like a Band-Aid to, or
death. No.
Nothing. There's nothing. Where
nothing,
if you have a cold, you get medicine. If you have a cut, you go whatever, you get a surgery, like whatever. There's always some type of pain relief or some type of solution a little bit. Whereas like with grief, it's like there's nothing fixing it. So I don't want your sorries. I don't want your how are yous. And I do, but it's once again, it's the thing in my head where it's like, I want you to, because it's so sweet and I love you and that's so nice of you. And I want people to be nice to me.
It's
and
the bitter part.
And the bitter part is like, well, fuck you, I'm not good. And I don't give a shit about your sorry because it's not bringing him back.
Right. And it's like,
I
know, it's a mental battle, because you're like, you know that person means well.
Right.
And they may care. Right. They may care about how you're genuinely feeling.
Right.
But on the same end, you're like, well, obviously I'm not good, so why the fuck are you asking that? But it's, you know, it's fine. We
could go on like to 25 topics of this. Dealing with the grief part, dealing with the fucking loss. Like, we can go on and on. I feel like I could talk for hours. How long am I supposed to talk here?
No, it doesn't matter, because it's only been an hour. But whatever, it doesn't matter. But what I will say is, listen, we are just at the end of the day, like, because there was a comment left on even my podcast, and it was something about, you know, someone said, I'm not a therapist. And I just want to reiterate this. Like, first of all, nobody claimed to be a therapist. Second of all, nobody claimed to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. Karlee and I are just two regular people
Yep.
that are sharing life experiences and literally just giving advice based on what we think and what we would do or how we reacted in that situation. Like, the whole grieving process, I'm not giving you an answer on how you should grieve.
Everyone grieves differently.
Right. And I'm not telling you, like, hey, do this, this, and this. Like, that methylfolate conversation was like, this is what she discovered. I'm going to let you guys know, hey, this is what's going on, you know, and you can take that information as you will. Like, we're not forcing you to do these things or to, you know, change to methylfolate or to, like, take our advice. So literally, we're just sharing experiences.
Right.
I'm only saying that because I know it'll be the same thing, you know, whatever. Well, you shouldn't tell people to take methylfolate because you don't know. But you don't really know. You're not a doctor. Yeah, we fucking know we're not doctors.
Just remember to put in the description.
We're not doctors. We're not therapists.
We should keep that, like, as an auto description.
I'm literally about to.
Yeah, put it on.
Or I'm going to make, like, a thing.
Default.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or I'm going to make, like, a thing at the beginning of each episode. Like a fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like a disclaimer.
Yes.
Because people are just...
And that's a very slim amount of people. Like, we know it's not our main source of viewers. We know that.
No, it's the people that want to complain about everything.
Yeah.
And they're there. Anyway, sorry. That's different.
I guess the other part of grief, too, that sucks is we're grieving all of the things we thought Luca would do with us.
Yeah.
We talked about sports. I talked about, we can buy a play. Like, our backyard is big enough to put a playground back there. He has a stroller. He has a car seat. Mm-hmm. He has a rocking chair. He has hats. And he has clothes. He has shoes.
Like, you
grieve what you also are grieving, like, your dream of what he would have been.
Like, everybody who has had a child or unfortunately has lost a child, you had a plan. You had certain things that you wanted to do with that child. You wanted to put him in sports, or you wanted to take him to Disney. Like
we know that once the child's here, things will change because every child's different, and it's not going to be what you always want.
Right.
But you have these dreams and these visions the whole time you're pregnant.
And that, yeah.
I had baby shower invitations and a list.
Like, yeah, and a place.
Yeah.
Like, we were literally always talking about, like, I played sports growing up, right? And it was like, that was one of the conversations. Oh my God, like, I really hope he likes sports because we want to put him in a sport and blah, 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 blah. Like, I wonder what he's going to be like and how he's going to laugh and how he's going to talk and how he's going to be like, you know, is he going to be a mama's boy? Like, I don't know. Like,
we have a savings account for him.
It's much more.
It's more than just losing your son. It's like you're losing the dreams, you're
losing the vision.
The vision.
Yes.
Everything.
Everything. And it's like,
you're going into an empty nursery.
Yeah. It's so much more. And it's like, again, a lot of people who can relate to this will know, like, it's similarly like if you lose somebody, right? This is the main difference. If you lose somebody in your life, right? You knew that person. You knew how they were. You knew how they laughed. They knew how they talked. Mm-hmm. Like, you knew them, right? And you're gonna remember them by those memories. And you're gonna grieve and think like, oh my God, remember the happy times.
Right.
Shit, you may grieve and think of the sad times.
Right.
But you had times.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key difference. Is like, you knew them. You knew how they were. We didn't even get to know our son of how he would have been.
You're gonna make me cry.
That's the worst part. For me, it's like, fuck. Like, thinking of all those things and, like, that's the worst part. For me, anyway. One of the worst parts, sorry. Sorry.
I've been doing very good.
Yes, you have.
At not bawling my eyes out the entire 2 podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a permanent lump in my throat.
Yeah, that's how it goes. But,
yeah.
I'm sure, sorry, babe, I didn't mean
That's okay.
I didn't mean to do that. But, yeah, I think with that being said, honestly, guys, like, I'm sorry to anybody that's obviously the podcast, sometime in the future, I'm sure will be more lighthearted and fun and funny and blah, 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 blah. Like, we're going to make them fun and funny, but, like, just bear with us for a little bit because this is honestly the most we've talked about this.
It's so therapeutic.
It is therapeutic, and, like, we're talking to just cameras right now, but
between this and Patreon, like, ugh, it feels like
A weight lifted.
it just feels so good. Like I've always used Patreon and YouTube as as therapy.
Yeah.
As you guys probably can tell. If you just type in KarleeSteel crying, there'll be probably, I don't know, 100 videos.
No, and it's like, it's something, there's something different about doing this, like together, where, you know, it's not just a 5-minute clip of us sitting in front of a camera talking. It's like, we can bounce off of each other and say, like, because we, like, obviously we've talked about this.
Yeah.
But, like, this is, between these last 2 episodes, like, and it's crazy because I just think about, like, how much more there is to say.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just scratching the surface, right? And it's
Yep.
like, I'm going to apologize now. Like, this isn't always what Couples in the Ring is going to be like.
They know.
But I just want to put it out there, like, bear with us for a little bit, because probably for the first at least couple episodes, we're going to be.
Like, if I did an episode by myself,
yeah.
I will be crying the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be...
It'll be like a
talking
venting session.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think you should.
Really?
Yeah, why not? Like, it's good for you, clearly.
Yeah, it is.
Like, after we have these podcasts, like,
Right.
you leave feeling almost a little bit lighter. Like, because you don't understand the stress that you carry every day
It's true.
until it's out. Then you're
True.
like, damn, I feel so much better after that. But you
Right.
didn't even know you were struggling.
I think the one thing I'm really excited to talk about is, like, the conflicting emotions in your head.
Yeah.
Like, the jealousy, the bitterness,
Like, and dive into them.
Yeah.
Like, how, you know.
And, like,
how you're
I'm going
dealing
to
with
say it, and I'm going to be brutally honest. And that's the thing, is, like, that's why I love my actual, like, core fan base, because I can be brutally honest, and the mature people will take it in the way that I'm saying it, not manipulate it into being like, oh my God, you're such a shitty person. They'll understand that the way that I'm saying it is not literal, and it's like just how I felt. It doesn't mean that I acted on it.
Yeah, but mature people will understand and how to depict that and be like,
Right.
oh, well, that's understandable, because if I was going through that, I'd
Right.
probably be the same way or worse. Like,
Right.
and listen, again, anybody going through grief, whatever, like, when we were talking about how, like, if your friends were going through something and you had, like, the two sides, like, bitter, but, like, I still care. Like, I don't want anybody to think, like, just because somebody is going through something doesn't mean that your problems are not validated
100%.
anymore, right?
And that's the kind of thing that I'm worried about doing in my podcast, is I'm worried about, like, when I do talk about everything, that I'm going to constantly have to
Backtrack. And be like, oh, this is what I mean by this.
And I think in the beginning of the podcast, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to, like, do a short, I'm going to kind of say, like, all these things doesn't mean your problems aren't whatever. This is just how it feels to grieve.
Like, do a short disclaimer at the very beginning.
And the reason why people won't understand is because they never lost a child.
Right.
So if you don't understand it, you can't get mad at something you don't even understand.
Honestly, there might even be people that have.
There are.
They're like,
I've had hundreds of messages.
Yeah.
And for those women, I'm here to just be your voice, because I never thought I'd be on this end.
No.
And I never
ever.
thought I'd even be on the infertility end, because I had no symptoms otherwise.
Yeah. But no, that's I'm sure there will be future episodes maybe going into more of, you know, just depicting, I've been using that word a lot, depicting the emotions behind everything, and kind of like how, like, really breaking it down, which I think you should do. I think I'm all for that, right? And you can do the mother side, I can do the father side, and think about, you know, and really, like, maybe it'll be something for somebody. Like, there's always this thing, like, not every single person listening to this right now is gonna take something from this.
Right.
They're gonna fucking, after the podcast, go about their day like nothing, right?
Understandable.
Even if there's one person that can listen to this and be like, damn, that really helped me, or, like, you know, that helped me to feel better.
Because you know how much it helped me.
Yes, when you found someone who
Like,
could relate to you.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it made the pain go from, like, 100 to, like, a bearable 50.
Because you and I can relate, obviously, like, to the whole situation, but, like, there are portions of that I can never relate to.
Yeah.
I can't relate to the mother side. And
You also can't relate to the infertility side.
No, I can't relate to those things. I can only relate to grieving the loss of my son as a father.
Which now that you saw your son,
yeah,
imagine you couldn't have
I know.
a kid.
I know.
I mean, I can clearly, but
no,
I mean, it's different because I have eggs, but you know what I mean.
Right. No, and I understand, but like,
to know that you might not ever get that again,
right,
is terrifying.
And it's crazy because it's like, I am very self-aware that I cannot relate to you.
Yeah, right.
In a lot of those aspects.
Right.
So when Karlee was joining groups and like started finding,
you also
like,
can't relate to the postpartum part.
No, nothing
Of the emotions, the hair loss,
no.
the milk, the bleeding, the pain.
I mean, I can relate to the hair loss a little bit, but
the feeling phantom kicks.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
No, but like, I'll never forget when you like, I literally remember when you found, some online friends, and like just the relief that was coming off of you. Like, I could see it. Like, you were going from like, obviously it didn't fix anything, right, but it like made for coping and like it made it so much lighter for you. And I could literally see it like in your attitude, in your behavior, and the way you were talking, and the way you were just going about your day to day. You're like, after, a day after you talk to those people, or like shortly after, I could see like how you were behaving differently. Because
can they hear your hand doing that the whole time?
No.
Okay.
But you found somebody. You found many people who could relate to you.
I found one person though that
I know
was,
that
like,
really helped you. I remember.
Copy paste, and then we as a person were very similar.
Like, it was so weird. Like, Karlee found this woman online, and they were like talking, and like all she was talking about was like, oh my God, she's helping me so much. Oh my God, like I cannot thank her enough. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, see, that's good. That's what you need, right? Like, it's great to do that. And then like, as time went on, you guys were relating in like other aspects, like not even
personal
about
life.
Like personal life stuff, right? Like not even about children, like everything. It was so weird. I'm like, and you could just see Karlee was like slowly, day by day, it was like helping you so much,
right?
And it's something. It sucks because it's like, as her significant other, you want to be able to do as much as you can, but there's only so much I can do,
right?
So yeah, but.
That's a whole other thing I'll talk about one day too, is postpartum without your baby. Because I'm still doing I feel like people don't understand. Like, I still gave birth and I'm having postpartum. Like, I'm bleeding. I have milk. I'm going through the emotions. I'm going to get postpartum hair loss. Like, I am still the way that you feel after you give birth, but without a baby.
Right. Yep. So.
And my body wants the baby. Human nature after you give birth is to hold your baby and like just be all over your baby.
Right. But yeah, there's going to be a lot about this topic, obviously. And I'm sorry if that's something you're not interested in. I mean,
it will pass eventually.
It'll pass. And shit, maybe a year from now, we're going to bring it up again. Like, who fucking knows? And It's just kind of the way we want to do it. But anyway, we've been going for like over an hour and 10 minutes, or 12 minutes. So, I mean, if you want to wrap up, we can.
Sure.
Okay. That's me. So let's go to you.
The problem is I could talk about it all day.
Exactly. But the good thing is that we just come downstairs and hit record.
That is so true.
And if you want, literally, if it's 12 o'clock at night and you're like, babe, I want to go vent. Let's go set up the podcast and we'll just talk. Okay, bet. Let's go.
Or we're arguing. We should go. Let's bring it downstairs.
Bring it to the ring. But yeah, anyway, I'll close this one since you closed the last. Okay. Or unless you want to close.
No.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of Couples in the Ring. Obviously, subscribe, turn on that notification bell to get notified when a new episode comes out. And if there's any feedback you guys want to leave on, if there's anything that we can improve technically, or even in the podcast, if there's stuff that you guys want us to talk about, if there's things that you might need advice on, even if it doesn't relate directly to this, I'm going to be looking at all the comments. I'm going to write a lot of stuff down. And yeah, like, just let us know what you guys want to hear from us on this podcast, and we're super, super excited to be back. I don't think I talked about that enough in the last show, but anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. And you don't want nothing to say? You're good? Okay. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody.